In hardcore German, how do you pronounce your name and surname?
Friederike Albers.
Okay,
Albers.
gives a different taste.
Sehr gut.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to a new episode of Cloud Cafe Podcast. This is episode number 7, and our guest today is going to discuss the world of cognitive science and how she jumped to the other world, the one of cloud technology.
Yeah, we spoke about how to approach new situations, how an open mind can help, that it's important to ask questions, what you do if you don't know the answer, and why it's so important to have people around you who are not the same as you. Our guest is Friederike Albers, part of the cloud control team at Xebia.
Join the discussion and let's get to know more about who's the person behind the cloud.
Okay. Hey, well, before you joined the IT world, you did something completely different. Can you tell us a bit more about what you did, what you studied, and why?
Yeah. So back in the day, I started with a study which is called cognitive science. So it's really a research study in which you go into many, many disciplines. You have neurobiology, you have informatics, or a little bit of programming, I would say. But also psychology. And I really find that study really attractive, that you didn't upfront have to choose in which direction you go, but that along the way you could still, along the 3 years, usually such a bachelor lasts, you can still decide in which direction you go and where you focus on. And for my bachelor thesis in particular, I really had to program an experiment, set that up, and I actually really liked that. So it was tricky also, especially the data analytics and data analysis, I mean. But it helped me to, find out also what I like and what I don't like so much. But after I looked into how the human brain works and how cognition works, I was also looking at maybe there are another focus. So I looked at the human body, like how does that work, how the movement works, and I found the perfect master for myself in Groningen. So I moved from Germany back then to Groningen. And completed my master's there. And there also, again, we really had to program heavily to analyze the data. The entire setup of the study took half a year. So, it's a really research-heavy master. But in the end, it was a bit like, okay, what do I do next, right? So now I'm really specialized in the research field. Can maybe do a PhD. It was offered that I could maybe start a PhD once I get through the application, so to speak. But then I was like, okay, do I really want to stay 3 or 4 more years at university, or do I really want to get my hands dirty and start working? And I decided, okay, I want to do that much more.
Go for the second one. You know, cognitive science, reference to the previous conversation that we had before the podcast, it sounds very, very complex in terms of the study of the human mind. I mean, it's very complex in the brain, you know. So, how would you define which are the main implications? For example, what were you doing when you were dealing with the data? What were you creating kind of models and studies?
Yeah.
What was that about? In a very let's say,
in a nutshell.
In a nutshell, for non-scientific people, let's say.
Yeah. So I mean, cognitive science is anyway a really trendy topic. So back then in Germany, when I started it was actually only twice. Or in 2 different locations you could study it. Mm-hmm. One more in the north where I decided to study, and one more in the south. Now you have more universities that offer such a study program. But you really look at the cognition as a whole. So you indeed have the neurobiology part. So how does the brain function? You know, what kind of hormones play a role? What are the outside factors that also make you react in a certain way? But then you also have, the psychology also plays a part, right? But you can also look at it from a philosophical aspect, so that also was in there. But for me personally, I more looked into the psychological part and also the neurobiological part. And for my bachelor, we tried to influence, bachelor thesis, we tried to influence people in their behavior. So we primed them, so to speak, with stimuli, and then saw or looked at the difference in behavior. So we looked at how do they study websites after the priming. So you can prime them in a more positive way or also in a more negative way, and then see if there's a difference in looking behavior.
Priming the people, what does it mean? What did you do?
Sounds like a tough definition, you know, priming the people.
Yeah. You can do it in very different ways. You can do it with visual input, as we did it at the moment. So we used really basically stock photos or photos that were already in a pool of photos that are known to have a certain effect on people if they see it. So if it's a really brutal scene, I don't know, also maybe some violence, also maybe children involved, that really has usually a big impact on the human mind and also how they feel afterwards. So how we did it was you have a relation in between. If you look at a positive stimuli, you want to maybe bring that towards you, right? And a negative stimuli, you would much rather get rid of it. And we try to prime the people with letting them receive the very negative stimuli, so pull that towards you, which is counterintuitive, and the other way around. So push the positive away, and with that we hope to prime people negatively.
And did it work?
Yeah, it did work. So you could see a difference in behavior. We also looked at the reaction time, so you can also see that positive stimuli are much rather quickly pulled towards you. We had a joystick back at the time, and negative stimuli you easily push away. But if you have to do it counterintuitively, you really had this like, oh wait, what am I doing? Oh, I have to push or pull the negative towards me, which is not that natural. Yeah, so I find that really fascinating. But then I thought, okay, in which direction do I want to go? And I then decided to still continue with research, but then more on the rehabilitation side of things.
How did it help you that you were living in different countries in the last years? How did it help consider your personal growth?
Oh, yeah, I think you really have to adapt rather quickly to the new circumstances, right? You have to connect with people rather quickly to be able, to have a good time yourself as well. If you're not able to get in contact with people, then you're rather lonely rather quickly. So I would say, one of the skills that I learned is make clear what I want as well, and be adaptable and flexible. So also what I said with my planning, I don't plan in the next 5 years or something. For me, it's more what opportunities do I get in life? Do I feel comfortable doing them or taking them? If not, then not. But you really have to be a little bit flexible, I think. That's the key.
Absolutely, and things can change so fast that you should mainly focus on what's best at the end of the day. So I think we discussed this also in the episode with Fahad. It's like you cannot have a set in the stone kind of 5 years plan. How do you see yourself, this kind of thing? It's good to have some sort of forecast, which is aiming for the good. But at the end of the day, if something happens that can be even better, why not, right? Or if perhaps you change your passion, perhaps you change where you want to be. So it's good to be flexible, as you mentioned.
And for you, it also applies, right? You also live in the Netherlands as an expat.
As well. I just that was just my 4th year in the Netherlands from the 8th of November. Yeah, feels like it was yesterday.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. It feels like yesterday.
Yeah, okay. For some things, it went really fast. But when you look yourself like behind and all the things that be happening, aside of COVID, but maybe switching jobs, switching careers, people that you met, it feels like a lot, but it feels also fast. I don't know. It's difficult to describe. But 4 years in the making.
But it keeps it exciting as well, right?
It does. It does, absolutely. And it's when it comes to move abroad, I think people tend to take positions like, oh, you have to go abroad because, at least from my country, if you don't go, it feels like here there's nothing for you, so you just rather go. But you have to consider many things. If I should give a suggestion to someone before moving to another country, do a lot of research. And of course, it depends also what's your position, right? Are you having a job offer? Are you already in contact with the country, or you're just going with the flow, let's say, and start everything from scratch? It really depends by the situation, the age. your personal situation. You're coming alone, you're coming with your family, your partner. So, but as in many other things, people tend to take pretty scripted position and miss to see the bigger picture, let's say, and then situation can change. But does change actually.
Yeah, well, for example, when I speak for myself, you both lived abroad and took the leap to live somewhere else. My parents, they had their own company, so for us it was a bit harder to go on vacation. A lot of times we stayed in the Netherlands, but they also didn't, let's say, stimulate me to study abroad or just to live somewhere else. So I never was. I was always a bit okay with the Netherlands and visiting maybe parts within Europe, but never outside Europe. Until I met Niels, my boyfriend. He's very adventurous and he traveled around the world quite much. And now it triggers and let's say we're stimulating each other that to travel the world around and to get to know other cultures. Very but nice. when it's not, let's say, part maybe of your childhood, maybe it has impact.
Yeah, indeed. I think maybe then the level, or let's say the drempel, what is that?
Barrier or...
The barrier is maybe higher to then take the leap and start something like that.
Yeah.
I can also imagine, yeah.
And it will also form your image of, traveling or...
Different cultures.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
But also what I learned is when I live in a country abroad, I much rather also make an effort learning the language and know what's happening around me. I mean, I was once sitting in a train. That was when I actually looked at the master just to in Groningen to inform myself. I was sitting in the train and all of a sudden some announcement was made and everyone stood up and I was like, wait, what's happening? Can someone please translate? I mean, German and Dutch is not that far apart, but I didn't understand the word. And that doesn't make you feel very comfortable, I would say, in a country where you don't understand anything. So much rather make the effort and learn at least the basics.
Yeah, yeah.
That's also a key takeaway for the countries that you live in.
How did you do that, Jean, when you joined?
In terms of facing the culture, the reality, the language.
Adapting in the Netherlands.
Yeah, I do really agree with what Friederike just said in terms of putting effort, right? It doesn't mean you have to become a native speaker out of, 2 months, because there is some sort of linguistic terrorism, I would say, from that side as well. If you don't learn the language in 2 weeks, you're basically screwed, You're not going to find any job. Well, that doesn't apply in the Netherlands. We know it's perhaps, I think it was the countries with the highest level of English, of non-native English speakers. But aside of that, I think also within the international community, on the other hand, a lot of people use this as a pretext just not to learn Dutch. And I do understand, especially if you have the job, if your life is relatively comfortable, that's it, right? Why should you take it to the extra mile? But then you're missing, as she said, you're not scraping that barrier, And that would be the same in basically every country. Yeah, some countries more, let's say, introvert or individualistic than others. But the cultural barrier can always be there. And if you show that you're willing to, hey, I'm here, I would like to know more about this place, I would like to know more about the people. And even if I don't know nothing about your language at the moment, I'm willing to learn at least the key words. And you do literally see people being much more open towards you, because you also have to see the issue or the situation not only from your side, but from the other side. Yeah. People don't know nothing about you. And you can just be one of the many tourists walking around Amsterdam and making a huge mess.
Yeah, you can be really undercover if you...
Yeah, I mean... Yeah. That might sound like it doesn't mean anything, but I do believe whatever country you go, if you show your willingness, people is always going to be open.
Yeah, you need to be open up, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter, indeed, if you speak a really high level language or not, but at least if you show the effort, people are really appreciative of it. And Definitely. Also much more helpful most of the time, or respond more helpful and willing to assist you in times of trouble or whatever.
But I think for you was relatively easier to learn Dutch, right? For the proximity with German.
Yeah, I mean, if I now look at the distance, indeed, my parents or my family that still lives in Hanover, it's like 3.5 hours of a car drive. So it's, yeah, some of my friends that say that they live in the south of Germany, they always make a joke like, I have to travel 7 hours to stay in the same country, and you have to travel like 3.5 to go then abroad. I'm like, yeah, okay, you're right. It's not, yeah, it's a little bit less adventurous than living in Canada or Brazil or something like that. But yeah, true. It is often you can just guess a word in Dutch, and then it's actually a fitting. It's a fit. Let's say it's the same word, just a little bit different pronounced, and then it works. But yeah, still, I did courses. I did the very foundational courses, which was a bit sped up with only Germans in that course. But it's so much easier if someone says like, okay, I is ik, and you know, like this is how you build up a language, and then you from yourself you just notice, okay, I have these building blocks now. I understand this word. I understand this word. Oh, together that makes this. And the next lesson I learn another new word, and then it at some point it goes automatic, but you have to still make the effort and speak. This is the biggest.
It takes time.
Yeah, the speaking part.
But I have to say back at applying for jobs, the speaking part was not yet there, I have to say. So I already did the courses and I was okay with understanding. But man, I had a tough time starting to speak, especially because of the pandemic, like less contact with people. And then all of a sudden you have to apply. I noticed if you apply in Dutch, it's much more, better received. So I tried to do that. And that was that was really a tough time.
Yeah.
But in the end, it worked out.
So tell us, you did a complete different study, and you end up right now, till now, in the IT world.
How did it come? Yeah. Indeed, it's not like the traditional IT study I did, but still, I was equipped with learning how to program or knowing how to program in different languages. Even I understand concepts rather quickly, so I think that was something that my previous employer also saw, and then also was able to or was willing to employ me. But before I did that, I also tried to stay much more in the research area that I was in before, so the human movement sciences, and I applied for several jobs there. But it was obvious that you needed a PhD most of the time, and that was much more appreciated. Which I, as I already said, it was not really on my path to do that at the moment. So I swapped in my search a little bit and my strategy on finding a job, and thought, okay, why do I not just look at the programming and start something there? And then I started off as an AWS cloud engineer. Yeah, can go like that.
Indeed. Which were your first steps, let's say, moving from research to the consultancy cloud engineering position that you had, which is indeed a consultancy, it's not a product company. So you had to learn how to deal with clients and how to be technically skilled, let's say.
At the same time,
At the same time,
yeah.
And your expectations, because you joined a IT consulting company. Like, what were your expectations?
Yeah, maybe I didn't really know what to expect that much. I just, again, like went with the flow and the opportunity I got and tried to make the best out of it. I mean, that sounds really cliche, but it is, especially the consultancy. You then are, as someone who has not yet the background so much as others who really study in the field of IT, you then all of a sudden have to advise and consult on certain problems. And in the beginning, that doesn't go that smooth, to be honest. Like, you need to get a lot of input from others and incorporate that and try to help the client as best as possible. But that's why you're part of a team, right? And you are first a junior, let's say, and you can consult others to help you. And then from then you just develop and you get better at what you're doing. And but it is different. Like, first you really look at patients, you invite them for a research for 3 hours or something. Then you send them home, you sit alone at your laptop and try to do the data analysis. And now you are constantly in contact with clients, expectations. You have to know the business, the market, a little bit of the Netherlands. Yeah, completely new. But what you cannot learn if you don't ask questions. So that's what I did.
And what did you find the most challenging at the beginning?
I think
the technical part, for example, or even the consultancy part.
Yeah, with the AWS cloud engineering, it was expected that you do certain certifications and you also study for that. You obviously don't have that much time during your work day to study. So you also are expected to do that a little bit outside of your working time, which was okay back when Corona was still, that you could really do that
Not
much.
a bad deal at the
was
end.
actually okay to do.
Yeah.
Manageable. But yeah, I think that and also speaking Dutch, because certain clients want you to speak Dutch and then try to pimp up your basic Dutch in a way that is quite confident. Yeah, I think that was one of the biggest challenges. But yeah, if you're willing to learn and you are open to, also feel a little bit uncomfortable with situations, you can get rather far and learn for these certifications. You can do it. It's not impossible. But yeah,
it's a bit of your how you approach things, right? So ask questions.
Yeah.
Just go for it. Not planning everything.
Yeah.
It will be fine.
Exactly.
Yeah,
it is also we are already touched upon it a bit earlier as well. This is a really man-dominated field, right? And you are, as a woman, often the only female character in the play. I know also you are in a program, right? Like this female leadership program also helps you to maybe look at, okay, what is my own style of leading? Very simple now, meetings. How do what is my own personality playing in there as well? And if you stay close to yourself and try to, not let other influences interrupt it so much, how you approach your daily work, then I think it's doable.
Indeed, we touched upon it before, like feminine energy and masculine energy, that every person has those two parts. Feminine indeed is more soft, masculine is more, direct, more not powerful, but there is a difference, right? And that
Sometimes,
and that you can sense when you have conversations with a lot of in a man world as woman, it can feel like, okay, indeed we need to find each other, and some conversations might be more challenging.
Yeah, indeed. I mean, in also the team I'm currently working here at Xebia, the cloud control team, I noticed it was really appreciated that I then joined later as a woman and bringing in also maybe a little bit of a different perspective on certain problems. Also, approaching meetings in a different way, not so like bam, 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 we have to do this, but also like, okay, let's touch base here on this issue and focus on a few things, not just like I brought this client in and I brought this client in, let's go. But just like smoothen it out maybe a little bit. Maybe that's also something.
Yeah. Well, it's like research shows that diversity in teams, and that's not about gender or it's all about a lot more. It improves results in all kind of aspects.
Yeah. I mean, there's always a balance, right? Like if you make it too diverse, indeed, then it's very energy draining because you have to always adapt on so many more levels. But indeed, a touch or a pint of diversity is usually helpful, and indeed, it does not matter if it's gender or just personality or leading characteristics.
In your field as consultancy, how it was, you had to deal with people regardless, the gender and stuff. They're stakeholders, they're clients, so they're expecting their expectations to be fulfilled, and because they're paying you and the company. So as every type of personality, you have those that are super demanding, they're kind of always present to the situation, they keep asking you questions. Meanwhile, you can have other kind of clients, they're like, okay, you're the expert, I hire you for that, they're more laid back, and they just let you do the job.
Yeah, also with the pool of clients that we have at the moment, we have like really technical companies on board that have their own IT departments. They know Google Cloud very, very well, and some are not that mature yet. But then you always have to find this balance on how do I approach that, right? can I drop a lot of technological terms like infrastructure as code? Some really know what it is, some others don't, and then you're like, oh, okay, let's take a step back and what is caching, and explain that first, and not just like bam 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 and please implement it. But you have to have a sense, like in German it's called Fingerspitzengefühl, for like for what is necessary.
Loud and clear.
For what is required in a situation. And this challenge is especially for me really attractive because it is not only expected that you know the market, the Dutch market in this case really well, but also the background of each client, and also try to communicate differently maybe with a CTO than with an engineer or someone who is a general manager, and doesn't really know the IT landscape that well. And I think that's one of the most challenging things, but I really appreciate doing this.
We're talking about challenges. For example, if you're stuck on something and not, let's say, a very complex question, or you really feel anxious about it, like, okay, how am I going to approach this or solve this? What is your strategy? What is your advice to others if you really don't know where to start or what you need to do right now? What are you doing?
Like if it's in a meeting and you're really on the spot.
Can be, okay. Yeah.
Then you can also just honestly say like, hey, thank you for your question, like really diplomatic, but I will get back to you with an answer later. I would need to first consult other colleagues or other input. We sometimes have it that in review meetings and so on, a lot of technical questions are asked, and I see sometimes the consultants also like giving a lot of input, but maybe that's not received really well, or it's not yet solving the issue. But then we can just say, hey, let's take a short break here, let's consult, and then get back to you later. And it's fine. I think it's always fine to show that you're in a certain moment not absolutely 100% sure about something, instead of giving a wrong answer. I think that's always, it's much more appreciated than just giving a prompt answer which is not correct.
Absolutely. You don't want to just be squeezing the participant to force an outcome just for the sake of it.
Yeah, and I think that shows more strength than just giving the wrong input.
And well, also trust, right? You should be trustworthy. Yeah. If you just say something, then
if it's not necessarily in a meeting, but also strategic-wise, right? If I get an email that I'm not yet completely sure how to respond to, just ask your teammates, what would you do? And I think they also often bring in a completely different perspective on a specific client. They have maybe more history with them. They know what is going on already 2 years ago. Compared to me who joined a couple of months, and then it's fine. Okay, maybe I should take that also into consideration while I reply to this email. It's much better. It's communication. It all boils down to communication.
And that you don't want to do everything on your own. It takes a lot of time and it's more difficult. And well, what we're talking about, if you have other people there in insights or advice or how they look upon things, it's way more valuable
and more fun, actually.
Because
you really have the feeling you're growing as a team if you tackle issues together instead of only the sole person or this only person who is doing with. It's fun.
So happy, when we well, indeed it's the same with the recruitment, working together. It's when you joined Exebia, a lot of things became way more fun when it comes down to sourcing.
I also had the feeling that what Friederike mentioned as she joining as the only woman, I perceive it on the other way around. Basically as the only man.
You're for you.
Almost, true. Almost. Yeah, Karim was part of the team.
How does it feel for you?
Best place ever.
Feel. That's great.
No, I do believe it brings again, unlike necessarily gender or these kind of things, but personality that you bring. When you're having a meeting, for example, there is always kind of people that wants to go a little bit straight, cut into the chase, and other people that instead is a little bit more narrative, let's say. So as you mentioned, at the end of the day, you have this kind of diversity. If you just create a common point and everybody, we rotate together to that, yeah, it works.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's also very good what we see, and what we see in our recruitment team is that we have so many people with a different background considered their nationality.
Oh yeah.
So that really, it really helps to approach questions and challenges from a different perspective. And on the other hand, we also see that you need to be aware of people have different style of communication, giving feedback, not being specific in giving feedback, or what is normal. And I also saw last year that if you have diversity in your team, it really helps with making things better.
Yeah, you can really easily target the qualities of one specific person to an issue, right? If you know someone is really good at strategic thinking, then let that person from that team do it. If someone else is really persuasive and can bring a solution across, maybe a bit salesy, yeah, of course, then you bring this person into the game.
Yeah.
So, in that sense, it's helpful indeed to look at diversity in that way. Can totally relate. Yeah.
I think it was. I think it was during the TEDx keys that we had on Tuesday. Was that the speaker Juan from Xebia Data, that he addressed diversity as something that indeed should be taken with a more mindfully, let's say.
Yeah.
Like you cannot just say, okay, we need a diverse team, so let's stop mixing and matching people from different culture, different skin color, sexual orientation, just to create this kind of fruit salad of people, like.
That's a nice one.
Yeah. And it's it doesn't make sense per se if you don't forecast the value of it, like why do you need diversity in the first place? What do you want to diversify? Is because you need a feature of a person, or because you need what this person is bringing to the team? The personality, unlikely their color, their skin, again, or something else. But I dare to believe that unfortunately diversity has been taken a little bit out of context and became much more of a marketing tactic. Kind of. And many companies, of course, they tend to follow each other's, and say, okay, perhaps it worked for them, or it's on trend, so we're supposed to blindly follow it without putting any pinch of context on it. And I think that's also why diversity is pretty much of a triggering topic, also within recruitment, because I remember this discussion can generate quite some split divisions between people seeing only the diverse part of it for the sake of, and the qualitative part of it is like, what is going to bring me to the team, context matter. All right, getting back into the tech stuff, let's say. You said you were working with AWS at the beginning, but then suddenly you switched to Google Cloud. And I do have a short clip that I would like to show you right now about a recent event that we had in September at Xebia. And I came out with some weird questions. Let's give it a look. First question. Name the Google product or feature that you're the most particularly into.
Actually, for my work that I'm currently doing, I'm using the billing console the most. So this is what I'm actually using every day.
I am your 90-year-old grandpa.
Yeah.
Tell me what the cloud is, please.
What the cloud is to a 90-year-old person. Okay. So I would start first with, do you actually know what a computer is? If you do, then
hopefully.
Sorry?
Hopefully I know.
Yeah, I mean, if you know what a computer is, then it's already helpful. I would say it's a computing power that you have a lot of flexibility with. So you don't have to invest beforehand and think about, okay, what am I actually using it for? It's always good to have a certain plan, of course, in mind. But with Google Cloud and cloud in general, you can always have the flexibility in purchasing new compute power if you want to, and having also a lot of innovation. So I think that's the future of cloud. And I hope that's understandable if you're 90 years old.
I'm still wondering what question did we take about. Personal question. What was your last Google search?
Oh my God.
If we can say that.
Well, okay, wait, let me have a look. 1 second. Oh, it's actually a client that I
safe zone.
Exactly. It is. You can see.
Yeah, that was a nice selling, I must say, of the Google Cloud product.
What I'm using the most.
What are you using the most?
The bidding console. That's true.
So, as you are now part of leading the cloud control team at Xebia, how would you describe in a nutshell your job right now?
Ooh. Yeah, it is, again...
It's about billing.
It's about billing.
Billing, so we're talking money, using the cloud.
Yeah, true. Yeah, the original idea was, and also the demand was there for a lot of our clients was, okay, sure, we now work with Google Cloud in this aspect right now. We work with cloud, but okay, how the heck do we actually keep it under control? Mm-hmm. How do we have an understanding of what we're using Google Cloud for? And with that, from Xebia, we actually saw a big opportunity to help them and also stay in contact with clients, because Xebia is known as a consultancy business, right? You have contact with a client for a couple of weeks or months, and then you stop a project. Really nice for consultants, of course, that they can always like start an exciting project and move on to the next one. But you lose the contact with the client really quickly. And now, as the cloud control team that I'm part of, we are in contact with the client all years now. So from year to year again, with some really big clients, we even touch down every second week or even more often, right? When this new challenge occurred to me, that it was really a great opportunity because it was a relatively new team. We already work with a lot of clients from the cloud control team, but we had to, or back at the time, it was necessary to scale up because the service that we promised to our clients, we just couldn't, we didn't have the resources, let's say, and the time to do it properly with good quality and deliver what we promised. So I was approached to jump in as a service delivery lead, or also others call me customer success manager. Like I think at Google it's more customer success.
The glue.
the glue between client and us. It was something very different than what I was used to. So as an AWS cloud engineer, I was responsible for keeping up the infrastructure, sitting behind my laptop, and I was in contact with the client, but not as much as I'm currently. And that was also something really new. I was super excited to join a team that was not yet super structured. So to also bring in new ideas and set up our services in a way that works properly, right? To keep track of certain things. So from within our GCP Cloud Control team, we have a pool of clients where we offer security reviews, architecture reviews, cost scans, purely to help the client to understand what practices they are doing really well within the Google Clouds and what they can improve. And if we then help them, or if they do it on their own, that's completely up to them. Mm-hmm. But we have this constant contact with them, and I think that's a really attractive feature also for Xebia.
Yeah. Well, you just say like our consultants might lose the contact when a project will end, and this is also an opportunity to stay in touch with the customers.
Absolutely.
Because you will stay close to each other, so you can act upon things you see indeed. So the relationship stays warm.
Exactly, yeah. So we are a Google partner, right? And also Google has an interest that we can see what's happening as well at clients, and that we can help them. And it's not about selling the most expensive feature that there is in Google Cloud, or the most expensive, marketplace purchases that you can have. It's more about really helping the customer and giving them comfort in what they're doing. So if it's, looking at the strategic side, we also help with that, right? If they already tell us, we are planning to scale up in 3 years, then we can consult with Google and see like, hey, can we maybe offer them something in particular, or what is our approach there? And that is something great if you don't only sit behind your laptop, but you can also have a little bit of the business insight and so on. That's really like the balance between technical issues plus the business side of things and the strategic side of things. That was something I was looking to develop myself further, and I think I'm on a good way.
That's exactly how it was going in my head, this business part, that it's getting together with the technical part that allows you to not only work with a different cloud service, but also to have a different function.
Yeah.
And,
Sorry.
No, go ahead. Sorry.
And also the offering that we have, we also are interested in building that out, right? We don't want to only stick to architecture reviews because, sure, with some clients we do that 4 times a year, and let's be honest, in 3 months that you have then in between, you don't implement so many changes already that we then already consulted them on. So we also have to look into, okay, how can we still make our offering attractive? Maybe also switch it up with indeed a security review in the meantime, and not only do architecture review after architecture review where the criteria not necessarily change. But it boils back again to this, to the initial idea, making a client comfortable in working with Google Cloud and also making it efficient, letting them know if something is up. You know, if all of a sudden the cost spent, or sorry, the cost of a service spikes up because someone is querying, for instance, constantly, but they are not aware of it because they don't necessarily know how to use BigQuery. Yeah, we're there and like send them or call them and be like, hey, do you notice that you are now spending 1,000 euros all of a sudden in one day just by querying? Maybe maybe look at it. And that's our role. And that's really appreciated by our clients.
So do we know in proportion businesses, how much more do they eventually spend when they are not aware of the use that they're doing of the cloud products in this case?
Yeah, it's definitely dependent on what is running, right? Yeah, exactly. Like if they are all of a sudden using very expensive services that are far out of reach, or over provisioning without knowing, over provisioning is like when you have workloads that are actually too expensive for what you use. So you only use 10%, 20% of a compute instance that you pay far more. Like the concrete percentage, it goes back to what do you do when you don't know the answer? I don't. I do not know in percentage how much more they would necessarily spend, but I can imagine it's around 40% sometimes. Yeah, for sure.
It's a lot.
It's a lot.
That's a completely sinking cost. Like you just pay for the sake of having a service that you're not using at the fullest.
Yeah, and it's not only using services to the fullest, but also not being aware of programs that there are. With Google Cloud, there are funding programs. You can also commit to certain workloads. So committing means that you know, okay, upfront, I will use this service for the next 3 years. I'm aware of that. I will use this application and I will not develop it that much further, maybe in the next 3 years. I will stay in a certain range. I can commit to a certain workload within Google Cloud and I can have so much savings. I think the saving is more than 50% on certain services. I think almost 60%. Yeah, that's so great. Then you can you use it and you save half of it. So then it's actually almost 50% if you think about it.
Quite some, let's say, considering that you can reinvest in anything else within the business.
Yeah, true. But what we also see now is this FinOps practice is really becoming more important. Like back a couple of years ago, a lot of companies moved to cloud because indeed, what I also said in this interview, it gives you a lot of flexibility. You don't yet have to have a rack of servers ready to experiment a little bit and know, okay, does my application perform really well or not? No, I can just use a sandbox environment within Google Cloud and I can see how far I get and if I would like to develop my idea further or not. And that is the flexibility that a lot of companies saw, invested in Google Cloud and other cloud providers. But then, okay, cool, now everything is there. I got rid of my service or like on-premise data centers. And what do I do now, right? Yeah, cool, everything is there. We have to develop it further. It's the same, not the same, but it's similar to having a data center. You have to maintain it in a certain way. You have to make patching updates and so on. And a lot of that is not done. And that's when we come in and say, like, hey.
Yeah, and cloud control, because there was also a thing, right? When a lot of customers migrated to the cloud, they thought that in the beginning or their costs were lower.
Yeah.
Always. But in the beginning, most of the time, the costs are higher. And then when you maintenance everything on the right way, you keep an eye on services, and exactly what you're saying, if just a small part of a what were you saying? Was running.
Workloads.
Exactly. If you manage everything well, then it is maybe cheaper or the costs are lower.
Yeah.
But it should have the right guidance.
Yeah, true. Indeed, like there are migration strategies indeed. So you usually much rather first migrate the low-hanging fruits, as we call them, like applications that are easy to replicate within the cloud. But then you move to the big applications, and that can indeed be rather costly in the beginning, because you still maybe just like lift and shift, as we call it, just put like one workload, same as it was on premise on the cloud, but you don't necessarily invest in the making it suitable for the cloud, and then it can be really, really expensive. So that's also shocking, I can imagine, to companies that are like, okay, cloud is the next big thing, but now we're spending like so much more money on it. Shall we continue with it? And you also have the other side, so starting small and then growing bigger. So we also see a lot of clients that develop into a more expensive direction, and they're like, this is now getting scary. I didn't expect to spend so much on it. Obviously, you have also cost increases also on the services within cloud providers. It's not that they always stay the same, right? So, yeah, if you don't make a customer aware of it, they don't develop in the cheaper direction, but spend much more money, and that can be scary. Yeah, or like uncomfortable. Instead of scary. Yeah.
And are you currently developing yourself further to this way with the position that you're currently having, or have ideas in the future of moving in a different part of the cloud, let's say?
Yeah, like indeed what we already said earlier, like I think certifications within the cloud business are helpful to get a grip or a basic understanding sometimes. I mean, you have very specialized certifications as well if you want to become or develop yourself further into the architectural role. Personally, for my role at the moment, that's not so necessary. Mm-hmm. Like with the reviews, we ask consultants to do the reviews, right? So we bring them in, and they basically look at the environment of the client and then give recommendations. We write a report, and from my own perspective, it's not necessary that I know all the nitty-gritty details of how does BigQuery work. I need to have an understanding. I know, or I need to know what they talk about, like in a rough, or let's say in a rougher scope. It's helpful. I mean, if you're completely blank and go into such a review, like, okay,
you need at least the theoretical part, let's say. At least,
true. But for the new role, because we are also working with managed services, and that's more really the service delivery function that I have. With that, you can learn so much as well. Like, how do you set up processes and responding to incidences and so on. So that is what I'm currently working on. At the same time, also getting to know Google Cloud even better.
So you're working a lot with Google. How is it to work with Google?
Yeah, it's a really cool company, I have to say. Like, we're a partner of Google Cloud. And I like this very informal setting that they have in Amsterdam. Like, it's always great to be in their office and have the short lines with also, the engineers, the customer engineers. It's a really easy way of working. And we're also happy. I think you also did a podcast episode with Fat, right?
Yes.
Yeah, we did.
He's our partner engineer, so it's amazing to work with him. He's super quick in responding, and it's great.
Happy to hear. I agree. By the way, yeah.
And they also maybe also another point. I like that you see that it's growing, right? So also you're involved with the user group, right?
The Google Cloud user group.
From the Benelux. You see that it's growing, the entire user group, that the demand of Google Cloud is growing as well. But they're really transparent, right? So you can ask like, okay, about the fundings and so on. They're also honest if it's not possible. So if they're not necessarily seeing the growth in a customer that you maybe see, then it's at least honest, and you know what page you are, and then you know if you move forward or not. And I really appreciate that
transparency.
The transparency,
Thanks.
All right.
Well, thank you for the conversation. I think we touched a lot of interesting points that we haven't been discussing it for the past episodes. So it was great to have you with us.
Thank you so
Friederike.
much. Yeah,
And
I really appreciated it.
yeah, and glad to have you.
Thank you. Thank you, Giuliano, and thank
Speak
you,
to you
Annemieke.
soon.